All right. Welcome to the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. I am Joey Calvo. Happy 2026, first of all. God blessed me with this miracle. Not just our guest, but we are back to the original way we were doing these podcasts. So I'm happy to do that. We got this. We were back doing this for now. I'm blessed, but please continue to help support this podcast no matter what, because who knows how long this is going to happen, So just bear with me one moment, and then we're going to get to our guest. And just bear with me. Nope. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys, for the patience. Appreciate that. So, all right. So today, our guest to start out 2026 is Ian Murray. And so Ian, in late 2022, along with his attorney, reached a settlement with the Jacksonville, Florida Sheriff's Department in reference to something that happened. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. But he is a military veteran who served our country in Afghanistan in 2017. And in April of 24, he returned from being out of the country again. And he is a defense contractor with the U.S. government. So, Ian, welcome to the podcast. Happy 2026 to you.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. All right. So now I didn't go fully, and I went off your website, and we're going to, speaking of that, give me one moment. I feel bad. I forgot to put that on there. There we go. Okay.
It's okay.
All right. It's there. So when we get towards the end, to promote it, it's there. All right. So, Ian, I didn't go any further into, your story. So I'm going to have you explain a little bit of that. Pardon me. So, but I do want you to explain, tell us about you, how you got to where you're at right now, and then we'll discuss, what happened.
Okay.
With Jacksonville. So up to Jacksonville, I'm gonna ask you to talk about.
Up to Jacksonville. Okay.
Yep.
Well, when I joined the military in 2002, after I finished basic training, I was originally in the Air Force. I was stationed up at Charleston Air Force Base in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the reserves, military police, or security forces, as they called in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, I was just getting out on my own as a young man. I was about 20 years old at the time. It was my first venture away from home, more or less.
Yeah.
And had some menial jobs, worked at car dealerships, washing cars, that kind of thing, and did my military reserve duty on the weekends.
Okay.
In 2004, I got a job as a corrections officer for Charleston County in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
It mirrored well with me being in security forces, of course, at the time. And that particular job, as far as my military service, it went very well. In fact, the sheriff at the time for that department was he was in the National Guard as a high-ranking officer. I think he was a full-bird colonel. So we had a lot of veterans, a lot of reservists, a lot of guardsmen working there. Never had any trouble. Everything went fine. And I ended up leaving that job in 2007 just due to lack of advancement. It was kind of a dead-end type situation.
Mm-hmm.
Continued on with my reserve duty for a little while. I did switch over to the National Guard in 2006 and for some better opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And did some other civilian jobs. I drove trucks, got my commercial driver's license, worked as a mechanic in some areas, and just did what I did, had to do to make a living. And in 2009 or so, the economy, that was when it kind of took a real big dive, and I was speaking to a friend of mine back in Jacksonville, and he informed me that the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office was hiring for corrections officers. So I was a little reluctant to get back into that line of work.
Right.
And he put me in touch with one of his friends who'd been working at the jail in downtown Jacksonville. He'd been there for a very long time. I talked to him, and he encouraged me to at least come down and he wanted to give me a tour of the facility and kind of walk me through and show me the differences between my old department and my new department. So I said, all right, what the heck? I have family in Jacksonville. So I took a trip down, and he took me on a tour of the jail. I like what I saw in comparison to how it was run from my old facility. And I said, okay, what the heck? Let's give this another shot. So I applied, and hiring process took quite a while because I was out of state and they had some hiring freezes going on back and forth. But after several months, I finally got on offer letter and started the academy with that sheriff's department. And I think it was December of 2009.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go from there. So you started working for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and as you were working, there was an issue that happened. Hence, what I mentioned in the beginning. Can you explain what happened that caused this to happen? Caused you to, in reference to?
Yeah, there was a few issues actually. I don't know what it was, but that department was not as friendly towards military reservists and guardsmen as my previous department was. I was quite frankly shocked from the get-go.
Okay.
I mean, even when I was on my FTO training, there were issues. And then when I was coming off my probation, they tried to keep me on probation for taking military leave, which is against federal law. Even after I explained that to my lieutenant, he still was trying to ram that in. And I'm like, sir, I'm not just going to agree with this. And he basically threatened me, told me that if I didn't go along with it, I could risk losing my job. So I called at the time. I didn't know who else to call at the time, so I called the union president, got him involved, and he got it squelched. But it involved me having to relocate to another facility.
Right.
So after that, everything was fine for a while. I was working down at the jail.
Okay.
And after a while, I was coming up to my end of my guard contract, and I was also about to get married. And just to make sure I had all my options at my fingertips, I decided to go talk to the Army Reserve recruiter. I got recruited into the intelligence field. And I was like, great, and a whole nother chapter. So it involved me having to go through the whole MEPS process again, and going to, I even had to go to Army Basic as a sergeant. That was kind of interesting because I'd never been to Army Basic.
Right.
And yeah, unfortunately, this goes back to there just being a lot of people there that either didn't understand or didn't like, or both,
right,
how the military worked. But the major incident happened. It started around 2014. We experienced at least to my recollection, it was the first government shutdown we'd had during my career.
Okay.
And the weekend of the government shutdown, we were scheduled to attend our usual battle assembly. A lot of people call it drill.
Right.
So the Thursday night beforehand, I call my supervisor to check in. He said, well, here's what's going on. Because the government shut down, we may not be reporting in tomorrow, but we still have orders. So be ready to come in should the word come down. And I didn't really think that it was too strange because at this point I'd been in the military for about 11 years. And I just thought, okay, no problem. So the next day I got up, called and checked in. He says, yeah, you don't need to drive to the armory, but just be ready in case they call us for something. Everything was kind of up in the air.
Okay.
So Nothing happened that day. End of the day rolled around. My supervisor said, okay, yep, we're coming in tomorrow and Sunday though. So I went in, did my normal drill, and that was it.
Yeah.
Well, several months later, we got updated calendars from our command.
Right.
They were for the whole fiscal year.
Right.
And some of the future dates for the rest of the fiscal year had changed. So I brought the calendar in, gave it to my supervisor, and made the necessary changes. And after doing that, I got called in my lieutenant's office. Her and my sergeant were both there, and she asked me to explain the previous date from the government shutdown, and I explained it just like I did to you. And she said, well, you either need to take that military leave day as a personal day or get some kind of updated orders. So I really didn't know what to do. I thought that was kind of strange. So I went to my unit, and my unit informed me that that original calendar should suffice. We've got other people that even worked within my department that were in the same predicament. Their supervisors weren't giving them any trouble. So I'm like, okay. So he says, well, you really don't need to do anything else, but if it's your civilian employer telling you to do this, you need to follow their policies. So I made a phone call again to someone in my union, one of the shop stewards down at the FOP, someone who'd been there for like 30 years, explained the situation. And he said, well, yeah, if your lieutenant's ordering you to do it, go ahead and do it. You're not doing anything wrong. You know, just comply because you don't want to risk getting written up for insubordination or anything like that.
Right.
So I went back to work and I did exactly what my lieutenant ordered me to do. She denied the leave request she told me to make, and then I found out through my military command a few days later that she'd filed a bogus complaint against me with our not the internal affairs, but our integrity department, if you want to call them that. Personally, they didn't really seem to have much of that, but so I was like, oh my God, what the hell's going on? And I called the union president and I chatted, and he even said, he named the lieutenant. He said, did Lieutenant, her name was Brokema. Did Brokema do this? I said, yep. He's like, oh God, not again. And apparently this lieutenant had filed numerous frivolous complaints against other officers. I don't know what her problem was, but she just had a propensity for doing this kind of thing. So I asked him, what should I do? He said, well, as long as you have orders to back up all your military leave, you should be fine. The integrity detectives will do their jobs and they'll end up just squashing it. It sounds like she just did it to kind of put a fly in my ointment, so to speak, make my life a little more miserable. So
try to be that thorn in your side. Yeah.
She was known for doing that. And so I was never worried. At one point, the integrity detectives called me and I informed them all my orders are on file. I'd be happy to provide them if they needed them. And I never heard anything back from them after that. So at least not for a while. So I figured the whole thing had been washed or, handled.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, I got orders to go out of state for about 3 months to do my intelligence training. I brought the orders in and turned them in. I took a few days off before using my personal leave just to spend time with my ex-wife and my family. Everyone was wanting to see me off and all that good stuff. I took the time off. We did some family trips and whatnot. And I was scheduled to leave on a Monday morning to fly up to Devens to begin my training. That Friday afternoon beforehand, I'm sitting in my living room packing a suitcase. I'm at the house by myself. And my garage door to my house was open, and I heard a loud knock at the door leading from the garage door into my house. I assumed my first instinct was it was one of my neighbors or somebody, because otherwise anyone else would have come to the front door. I opened the front door, or I opened the garage door, and there are 4 men standing in my garage wearing like half riot gear.
Wow.
With JSVO badges, and I'm at first I'm like thinking, is this the right house? And one of them said, "Are you Ian Murray?" I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Corrections Officer Murray?" I said, "Yeah, that's me." And they grabbed me and pushed me up against the washer dryer of my that was in my garage and handcuffed me and said, "We have a warrant for your arrest." And I almost started chuckling. I thought it was a joke. I thought maybe some of my friends at work were just playing a prank, and they weren't. So they they took me down to their little substation in Jacksonville. They went in my house. I don't know what they were doing in my house. I don't know if it was just their standard practice to go in. One of them used the bathroom. I guess they were just maybe trying to do their little dominance establishing of dominance or something. But it was kind of the whole thing. I was just in shock. I couldn't believe it. So they get me downtown and they start asking me these questions and about my military leave. And I'm like, "What did my orders say?" And it was painfully obvious after a few minutes that they never even went and looked at my orders that were on file.
Right.
When I told them I have orders for everything, how's this happening? And they started saying, "Well, you could have been more cooperative and brought them to us." I said, "I offered to bring them to you. You never called me and asked for them. And you already had them like right there at your fingertips. They were a matter of record." So I just couldn't believe what was happening. So fortunately, my family some of my other family members were in town, and I'd been able to call my ex-wife at the time, and they were able to rapidly come get me out of jail. I did have a bond. It was $1,500. They were they tried charging me with official misconduct and grand theft and something else. There were 3 total charges.
Wait, this is odd. Grand theft on a military.
Well, their argument was that the amount of time that I used or that I allegedly had misused, it wasn't just the one day. I found out that I mentioned earlier I had to go to MEPS when I was transferring organizations. They argued, "Well, that wasn't on your drill calendar." I'm like, "Yeah, it's on the orders I turned in to get the time off."
Right.
So, I really have no idea, what kind of investigation. This had been going on for 4 months.
Okay.
I do not know how they could have neglected to just not even attain this basic documentation in 4 months. So,
okay. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So they arrest you. You're out of jail, and so they continued to get at you about it to the point where you had a lawyer up, of course.
Oh yeah,
and clear it. So so you get cleared. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit.
That's fine.
You get cleared, and what happens after you've gotten cleared, from them?
Well, from the criminal case, they turned it over to internal affairs,
right,
to try and basically establish. They were trying to investigate me to see if I did anything wrong on an administrative level,
right.
And I still had my lawyers retained at this time, thank goodness. And they were actually representing me almost pro bono at this point because for them it was a matter of principle.
Right.
And they couldn't believe this had happened. And the detective they used for the internal affairs first thing my lawyer, let me back up a little. First thing my lawyers did was they sent a letter to the city administrator or the manager. With the entire case file and ask them to please summarize any infractions I might have committed according to rules or policies within the sheriff's office.
Right.
And he also sent a letter to that internal affairs division advising them I was still represented and if they had any need to contact me to go through them.
Right.
So within a week, we got a letter back from the city manager indicating that I had violated no policies, broken no rules, done nothing wrong.
Right.
So we already had our, everything we needed for that. A few weeks after that, I got a phone call from a Detective Malier demanding that I come in for an interview. And I said, did you not get the letter my lawyer sent you? And he basically said, I don't, in a nutshell, is like, I don't care what your lawyer said. You're going to cooperate with me. So
Okay.
I basically got his name, his ID number, and his phone number, and hung up on him and called my lawyer and said, please deal with this. So we also found out that this Malir was also in the military. At first, I thought that might be a good thing, but he was going around, he flashing his, he was Air Force OSI in the Air Guard. I know this because members of my command were calling my unit saying, hey, there's a guy named Malir. He's an Air Force OSI agent, and he's going around flashing his badge, trying to claim he's investigating on behalf of the military and not on behalf of JSO.
Right.
So I don't know what possessed him to do that, but anyway, well, I finally got to go into my training. I was out in Arizona, and when the investigation concluded, this guy wanted us to come in to discuss the findings. When my lawyer told him I was on military orders, the guy threw a conniption fit over the phone. And the next day, somebody called my schoolhouse out in Arizona simply to tell them that I had a felony arrest to try and get me thrown out of the training. Had absolutely nothing to do with the investigation. They just wanted to continue to disrupt my military.
They wanted to, like you said, be that thorn.
Yeah. And so I told my schoolhouse liaison, I said, well, that's all been handled. I have lawyers representing me. I gave them their information, and he called the lawyers, and so nothing happened. I didn't get thrown out of the school over that. Unfortunately, I did end up having to come home early from that training due to the death of my grandfather. So I came home. We resumed. We went back in, and they actually still tried to sustain administrative allegations against me for misusing leave, and they were recommending me be fired. And I'm like, I asked my lawyer, I'm like, do these guys just not get it, or are they that desperate to just stick me with something? Because I think they knew they had messed up, because even during the criminal part of this, they'd offered me a deal where they would have dropped all the charges if I simply agreed not to sue them. So I think they knew from the very beginning that they'd made a mistake. So I declined all their offers for any kind of deal. We opted to have a civil service hearing. The sheriff's office delayed the civil service hearing several times for months. And finally, my lawyer got him backed into a corner, said, okay, we're going to have it on this day. It was going to be sometime in early November, I think, of 2015. And he called me and said that the undersheriff, Pat Ivy, wanted me to come in to, as he put it, potentially resolve the whole thing. And I'm like, what does that mean? He said, well, it means just what he said. He wants to potentially resolve this. I'm like, I told him, I think I'd rather just resolve it at the hearing. I'm pretty much done dealing with these sheriff's office level people. They've had their chance to do the right thing. So my lawyer calls me back the next day, said, well, let's at least go meet with the guy. This is the number 2 guy in charge of the sheriff's office. Maybe if anybody, he'll, be willing to do the right thing. So we go to his office, and just from the very get-go, the guy had a sour attitude. His apparent whole idea was to sit behind his big desk and try to basically tell me that I was going to take a deal. And I told him I'm not going to do it. It got so bad where, like, the whole thing ended up boiling down to that one day during the government shutdown. Like, everything else was pretty much, washed away with my orders. They were still trying to argue that, like, oh, he could have come to work on that one day. And I'm like, no, you can't. When you have orders with the military, they supersede your civilian job. That's like one of the first things they teach you in the reserves. So it got so bad when I wouldn't cave into this undersheriff, he ended up throwing me out of his office. And my lawyers tried to talk some sense into him, and he just would not go along with anything. He was still demanding I took a deal and agree to a suspension, and I said no. So my lawyer's like, well, we're just going to have the civil service hearing next week. I'm like, okay, fine, we'll see you then. So the next day, the city attorney calls my lawyer and offered me like something like well over $10,000
Oh, jeez.
just on that level, just to
drop it.
Just to drop, well, not necessarily drop it, but to take the deal and not go to the civil service. And I said, no, I'm not. I don't care how much money they offer me. I'm not admitting to any wrongdoing. I'm not even on an administrative level.
Right.
So, and I mean, this is after my lawyer had, we had depositions of my command staff about this detective falsely identifying himself. We had the letter from the city manager, and like he just didn't even care. It's like they were just determined to stick me with something.
Yeah, they wanted to, like you said, be that thorn. They wanted to, they just, burst your whole career, all over stupid shit. Pardon my English, but over stupid shit. So, all right. So you get to the civil service hearing.
Well, we were like within a couple days of the civil service hearing, and that's when Pat Ivey initiated the harassment campaign against my ex-wife and I. I started getting a lot of phone calls again from people from the sheriff's office. I called my lawyer and he said, yeah, no one's calling us. So he basically told me ignore them. People started showing up at my house. There was one instance where I wasn't available and my ex-wife was alone in the house, and a gentleman in a white sedan pulled up in front of our house wearing a JSO polo shirt, came to my front door, started kicking the front door to the point where my ex-wife actually armed herself. And when my neighbor came over to the fence line, started taking pictures of his car and him, he immediately retreated.
Yeah.
And then the night before the civil service hearing, my lawyer calls and says, okay, they're willing to drop everything, all the disciplinary actions, and they'll give you the money if you just don't show up. So at that point, I was happy because that's the end result I wanted. So we took it, and that was the end of that, as far as the, dealing with it on an administrative level.
Right. All right. And then so after that, there was no other problems, nothing that would interfere with your military life or,
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I have a top secret security clearance, and for quite a while after this happening, whenever my clearance came up for review, I had to explain it to a lot of security officials and stuff, because the arrest was still on my record. All the negative headlines were still out there from the false information they gave to the news media and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, for a long time, I still had to explain this, but fortunately, everybody who knew me
understood.
They believe my side of the story, obviously, because I was never convicted. I never even had the administrative penalties or anything like that. So, me sticking to my guns and enforcing, just, having that fortitude is what really saved my neck.
Right. Well, that's good. All right. So now we're going to get to the questions. And so, and for those that are watching live, please keep yourselves together. For the first time in 2026, I get to present our number one fan, our number one supporter, and she is a real life superheroine like Ian is with the Army. This is American Fox. And she has questions for Ian today. And so the first question, and let me get that up there. And so the first question that she has is this. Oop, just came off. What made, we kind of explained a little bit, of, when you went into the military. Her question is why? Ian?
Yep. Why did I join the military?
Yeah, what made you go into the military?
Well, my grandfather was a Army veteran. He served in World War II. He did 37 months in the South Pacific in the Philippines fighting the Japanese. Very highly decorated man. And also growing up in Jacksonville, it's a very heavy military town. at the time, well, growing up, there were at least 3 military installations. A lot of my friends' parents were in the military, and I always just had a real fascination with the service, and a real strong desire to be a part of it from a young age.
Okay. All right. So the second question, now you've mentioned ex-wife in reference to this, but her question is, was it love at first sight when you first met her?
I don't know about love at first sight, but there was definitely a very strong attraction we had for each other. I mean, we clicked really quickly. And those feelings did last for a very, very long time, but unfortunately not long enough, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Now, folks, normally we don't go into something like this, but this was her question, not mine. So I just want to clear the air on that in reference to it. And the third question she has for you is, what are your goals for the next 10 years?
Well, I'm currently in grad school. I'm getting my master's in organizational leadership. I'm hoping to finish that in the next year or two, or possibly even move on to a more advanced degree. I'm still in the reserves. I've got 23 years, and I just got promoted to E7, Sergeant First Class type.
Congratulations on that.
And yes, and I've been assigned to an instructor role. So I'm actually hoping to spend the next few years training the newer recruits and spreading my knowledge that I've acquired over the last 2 decades.
Okay.
And hopefully make the Army a little bit better of a place. And ultimately, hopefully, once I'm done with retiring from that, maybe go to work in a leadership role in some kind of organization yet to be determined.
Okay. All right. So you can follow American Fox on X, formerly Twitter, at American Fox 4, or on Instagram. You can also go to the Life with Joey Calvo Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Life with Joey Calvo. And there are pictures and memes that you can purchase of American Fox. And believe me, you will be amazed with the pictures that are on there. I'm not saying they're dirty, because they're really I'm not going to say they're dirty. I will not say that, because they are not. But they're, I mean, especially with Christmas just passing and New Year's, with Valentine's Day coming up, there's some memes for Valentine's Day. There's also a couple that I kind of went off of, where it actually made her like Wonder Woman. She came out with a lasso, which surprised her when I showed it to her in reference to it, and even had her dressed as Wonder Woman, which even surprised me even more. And it really threw her through the loop when I showed it to her. But definitely, if you love Wonder Woman, you would love American Fox. She's amazing. She's great. She will love chatting superheroes with you, and ask for your opinions and stuff. So please follow her, and reach out and let her know that you heard it from the podcast. Especially if your friends are interested in, as they're watching this, if they get interested, and reaching out to her, just tell them, hey, we watched you, we saw your picture on the podcast, and we want to know about you. So believe me, she would be happy to hear it, folks. Believe me, in reference to it. All right, so let's talk about the website, ianmurray.net. So, when people go on there, and I only went on there just to pull out, a little bit to use for, to introduce you on the podcast and stuff, but explain a little bit more, why you created that website.
Well, the initial reason for creating the website was mainly was to clear my name, because prior to this happening, I'd never been in trouble really for anything ever. I think I'd had like one speeding ticket my entire life, and that was before I even joined the military.
Right.
And even my lawyer told me when he was going through my background, he's like, "You're like one of the purest people I've ever represented."
Right.
He's like, like, I don't even need character references for you. You're everything about you is good. And so that, I wanted to get my name cleared, because when they released all that BS to the media, the media printed what JSO told them, which was a bunch of lies. And when we got the lawsuit settled, we made numerous attempts. The person handling that does some of my, arranges some of these interviews. He's a friend of my mother's. My mother's an author. They would not even respond to us to do like any kind of retraction or do any kind of story to like tell the truth. So I wanted my name cleared, but
yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah, the more and more I did it though, we started getting emails from other veterans and reservists telling me that they've been in similar situations, that my story actually guided them and helped them on what to do. So I continued. So now it's more or less, I feel like I'm advocating for other reservists to let them know that if something like this happens to them in their civilian job, they don't just have to accept what is being told to them, that they have avenues and ways they can fight back. Because there unfortunately are a lot of civilian employers that will do this to people in the reserve. They'll try to fire them for being in the reserves. They'll try to demote them. And like I said, there are a lot of people that just don't like the whole, like these people that did this to me. There were so many people in that sheriff's office that just did not like, they didn't like that I was getting an extra paycheck. They didn't like that they had to give me time off. And that's everywhere, unfortunately. So now it's more or less to let people know that they do have rights and that there are ways they can fight back.
Okay. So my question to you, being that you have all this going on and, you have the website and being able to advocate for, other military people, that are going through the same thing. Have you thought about doing a podcast about it for yourself in reference to that, and maybe expanding even more to do that?
I have actually. I've had a lot of people suggest I do my own podcast. I've had people tell me I should write books about it and stuff. So yeah, I mean, once I finish grad school, hopefully in the next couple years, that is something I'm considering pursuing more. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this was originally meant to clear my name, but now that I know I'm helping other people, that is definitely something I've thought about doing. So it is definitely in the back of my mind, and may make its way more to the forefront of my mind as I get some more free time once I finish my master's degree or whatever advanced degree I end up with.
Okay. Yeah, because like I said, something like that. I mean, I do this podcast mainly just to make extra money, But I've learned, I've actually, from this, it actually became therapy. So, maybe something like this would be great for you, not just, like I said, it's like, you don't have to say it would be like therapy, but, being able to get that opportunity to advocate out more and even reach out to more, people and like, some, whoop, we just lost Ian. Yep, we lost Ian. We're going to see if he comes back up. But folks, if he does come back up, go to ianmurray.net and you'll see why he go through everything he went through in reference to it and read his story. It went I think we got him back. Nope, we lost him. But definitely, guys, like I said, check out ianmurray.net. And hopefully Ian will come back on very quickly. Yep, we're losing him, or he's having problem, or his friends, because his friends, believe it or not, there we go. There we go. Okay, we're like, what happened? I was thinking, like, did I do something wrong? I was like, this is not how I want to start 26. And here we go. Okay.
All right, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. I'm thinking your friends are like, get off the damn phone. Yeah. I think you did enough. And actually, I'm going to applaud T-Mobile because this is the first time that I've done a podcast where I didn't get cut out. And usually I get cut out because with the live streams and stuff, it usually sucks. And it usually cuts out. This is the first podcast that in 26, and actually it did not cut me out of it. So that's a great thing. But I was starting to tell people, go to ianmurray.net. And like I said, the idea of doing a podcast, Ian, is a good idea because, like I said, it gives you a chance to share your story. And plus, you can get some of the like your lawyers on the podcast and share, what had happened during that time, or even your military friends and stuff. And
that's an excellent point. Yeah, I never thought about that because I'm sure some of them are retired now, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind doing that. So that's definitely something to think about for sure.
Yeah, and then you're always welcome to come back on here as well. When that happens, or something new comes up, and you want to spread the word about it, please reach out. Like I said, and like I was joking around, not joking around, but I mean, as much as I was saying about, in reference to, your friends that are watching the podcast on YouTube live and stuff, and I'm going to make their day just for the heck of it. I'm going to go one step further. So I showed you one picture of American Fox. So it is 2026, and she is a very supportive. Like you said, she's supportive. She's the podcast #1 fan. She always had, is always there to make my day, especially in reference to questions if I don't have them. So I'm going to make it a bonus just for fun and just because she's worth it. And it is 2026. Here is another picture, folks. And hopefully your friends will stay calm. This is the tough American Fox. Okay. I mean, really tough. So believe me, back and see, we're Wonder Woman fans, believe it or not. We're actually Linda Carter Wonder Woman fans. So if you remember back in the 70s and you may not be, there, but in the 70s, there was the Wonder Woman TV series, which is now really on syndication on H&I cable. And in the one episode, there was a pageant and she was undercover. And so this is kind of like my version of a pageant version of American Fox. Okay. Except you just don't want to mess with her in reference to that pose. I mean, I showed you the original pose, but I had to show this pose because, I want you guys to know she is not to mess with. Okay. She is not to mess with. So American Fox, yes, I had to do that because I wanted to enjoy this. And, kind of my way of, being that, my appreciation for her being the support that she is. So I know I'm going to hear about it the next time with her in reference to it, but I think she's going to crack up too. But definitely, like I said, if you go to the Life with Joey Calvo Patreon page, there are a lot of pictures and memes and gifs of American Fox that you can purchase. Believe me, they're worth it. Especially, like I said, especially Valentine's Day, there are a lot of them that are out there on that Patreon page. So, Ian, like I said, you're welcome to come back at any time to, like I said, promote your future podcast or whatever you plan to do. We'll be happy to support you. And definitely, like I said, go to ianmurray.net and read a story. And if you feel that you are, that you were one of these military people before he goes into into doing podcasts or stuff, there is a little there on his website, and you can't, believe it or not, you can't erase it. You can't delete it. It's always there, and it always has that little number 1 in the screen when with the little chat box. Reach out to him that way, because he would love to hear from you if this happened to you. And maybe like I said, if you he may give you the advice you need to get through what he went through. So, Ian, I thank you so much for being on the podcast, and happy 2026, like I said to you. And I do hope that, you come back on the podcast. Just reach out to me in reference to it. And I do want to thank his publicist, who actually surprised me by not replying and letting me know that she even got the emails about this happened. The friendly reminder thing. Ian caught it before she did. So, but definitely tell her thank you when you do reach out to her. And I told her, any other, clients, and it's also, like I said, open for you if your former, like I said, your former, superiors want to come on and tell their story, feel free to give them, let them know that they're welcome to come on here and do it.
I certainly will, sir.
Yeah. All right. And thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for coming on this podcast, sharing your story. I truly apologize that you had to go through all this shit and all this hell. And I apologize that, that everything didn't work out the other way that American Fox brought up that I didn't. And believe it or not, just to let you folks know, mine actually went through last month, just before Christmas. So it was kind of a Christmas present to me. And that was after 7 years, but we were separated for 15. So, there was a lot we went through too in reference to it. So I can say it sucks to be divorced, but now that I'm in that new stage, I'm starting to get used to it and starting to live a little, quote unquote. But like I said, Ian, you're welcome to come back on here anytime. Don't be afraid. Okay. And like I said, let that person that introduced you to me, know that, their clients are still welcome to come on here. That door never shuts in reference.
Yes, sir.
All right. So like I said, check out ianmurray.net. Thank you so much, Ian, one more time for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much. And thank you to his friends that are watching on YouTube. I hope you got that little enjoyment on the side in reference to American Fox. Just keep it to yourselves in reference to it.
I'm sure I'll hear about that.
Yeah. Like I said, hopefully, like I said, go to the Life with Joey Calvo Patreon page, especially with Valentine's Day coming up. You need a virtual sweetheart. She'll be happy to do it. All right. But thank you so much, everybody, for watching the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. God bless you all.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.